Walk into the vast industrial cavern of the Tate Modern's Turbine Hall, or stand on the rain-slicked pavement outside the Guggenheim in Bilbao, and you are immediately physically diminished. Looming above you, blotting out the sky with a silhouette that triggers a primal evolutionary alarm, is a creature from our collective nightmares. This is Maman. She stands 30 feet tall, a gargantuan architecture of ribbed bronze and stainless steel that seems to have crawled out of a dark rift in the earth to claim dominion over the puny humans scuttling beneath her. To encounter Maman is to experience a profound shift in scale and power. You do not view this sculpture, you submit to it. Her 8 legs, spindly and knobby like the ancient roots of petrified trees, rise up to form cathedral-like arches. They pierce the ground with a terrifying delicacy, pointed tips barely touching the concrete, suggesting a tension that is almost unbearable. One might expect such a colossal beast, weighing over 9 tons, to be planted firmly, immovably. Yet Louise Bourgeois has engineered a contradiction, a heavy, industrial monster that appears to be tiptoeing, poised to skitter away or pounce with frightening speed. The material itself speaks a language of cold permanence. The bronze is dark, scarred, and uneven, mimicking the organic imperfection of an arachnid's exoskeleton, while retaining the unforgiving hardness of metal. It is an industrial biological hybrid, a steampunk horror that forces us into the uncanny valley, that unsettling space where the artificial comes too close to the living. Walking underneath her, enclosed within the cage of her legs, you feel trapped. It is a space of vulnerability. You are the prey. You are the fly caught in the steel web. The air seems cooler here, in the shadow of the beast. But then, you look up. Suspended high above your head, protected within a wire mesh sac attached to the creature's underbelly, are eggs. They are not made of the same dark, aggressive metal as the body. They are marble, white, smooth, luminous, and terrifyingly fragile. In this moment, the narrative fractures. The monster is not hunting. She is carrying. She is not a predator guarding a kill, but a mother guarding the future. The terrifying scale suddenly shifts context. Those sharp, spear-like legs are not weapons of offense, but a perimeter of defense, a fortress built to keep a hostile world at bay. This is the central paradox that Bourgeois presents to us, wrapped in 9 tons of metal. Why does protection look so frightening? Why must the guardian assume the form of a monster? We are conditioned to see the spider as a villain, a creature of poison and entrapment. Yet here, the sheer size of the threat is repurposed. The horror we feel is perhaps the horror of the world outside, necessitating a guardian of such nightmarish proportions. To be a mother, Bourgeois seems to suggest, is not merely to be soft and nurturing. It is to be a titan, a frightening force of nature capable of holding the sky up to protect the precious, breakable life suspended in the dark. We stand in her shadow not as victims, but as the protected, shielded by a terrifying love that we are only just beginning to understand. To understand why a woman would sculpt her mother as a giant spider, we must leave the cold galleries of the 21st century and travel back to the riverside workshops of France in the 1910s and 20s. Louise Bourgeois did not choose the arachnid for its shock value, nor for the cheap thrill of a Halloween scare. She chose it because, to her, the spider was the ultimate symbol of industry, intelligence, and repair. The spider is a weaver, and so was Josephine Bourgeois. Louise's family ran a tapestry restoration business. Her childhood was filled with the smell of wet wool, the sound of dyeing vats, and the quiet, rhythmic motion of needles repairing centuries-old fabric. Young Louise would watch her mother, Josephine, hunched over tattered Renaissance textiles, meticulously reweaving the missing threads, closing the holes, making the broken whole again. In Louise's eyes, the spider's web was not a trap, but a masterpiece of engineering and restoration. The spider produces silk from its own body to build a home and catch food. Josephine used her hands to rebuild history and feed her family. But there was a darker thread woven into this domestic tapestry, a knot that would never quite come undone. The bourgeois household was the stage for a profound and silent betrayal. Louise's father, a charismatic but tyrannical and philandering man, moved his mistress into the family home. The betrayal was doubly cutting. The mistress was Sadie, Louise's own English tutor. For 10 years, the young Louise lived in a suffocating atmosphere of hypocrisy and suppressed rage. She watched her mother endure this humiliation with a stoic, intelligent patience. Josephine did not explode. She did not tear the house down. She endured. She continued to weave. In this light, Mama transforms from a creature of horror into a totem of survival. The spider is clever. She waits. She is useful. She eats the mosquitoes that spread disease. Louise famously said, "The spider is an ode to my mother. She was my best friend. Like a spider, my mother was a weaver. Like spiders, my mother was very clever." The sculpture becomes a rejection of the father's chaotic aggression, the loud, destructive force, and a monument to the mother's quiet, strategic strength. The terrifying size of Mama is a child's perspective magnified by memory. To a little girl, the mother is the entire world, giant, omnipotent, the source of all safety. But also, perhaps, there is a hint of the mother's unspoken power. Josephine's ability to tolerate the intolerable, to keep the family fabric from unraveling despite the father's attempts to slash it, required a strength that was almost frightening. The spider represents a rational, deliberate, and constructive power. Unlike the predator who kills for sport, the spider kills only to survive and protect. In the tangled, traumatic web of Louise's childhood, her mother was the architect of order, the silent spinner who kept the world from falling apart, repairing the damage as fast as the father could inflict it. When we stand back and look at Maman one last time, the initial shock of her monstrosity fades, replaced by a profound sense of melancholy and resilience. This sculpture is not a monument to fear. It is an ode to the tenacity of love in the face of disintegration. It is a physical manifestation of psychological survival. Bourgeois, who worked well into her 90s, spent a lifetime exorcising the ghosts of her childhood, turning her trauma into objects that could be touched, walked around, and understood. In casting her mother as a 9-ton spider, she granted Josephine the physical power in death that she lacked in life. Consider the engineering of the piece. Despite its massive weight, Maman feels perilously balanced. Those legs, for all their height, are incredibly thin compared to the bulk of the body they support. There is a tension there, a feeling that the whole structure could tip, skitter away, or collapse under its own emotional gravity. This is the nature of the repairer. To be the one who fixes things, the one who holds the family together, is an act of supreme strength, but it is also a precarious existence. The mother carries the weight of the world on legs that look like they might snap, yet they hold. They always hold. Bourgeois is telling us that love, real, maternal, protective love, is not soft. It is not a greeting card sentiment. It is structural. It is fierce. It is the steel that keeps the roof from caving in. The spider is a guardian against the pests of the world, a benevolent presence that cleans the house of disease. By placing this guardian in the public squares of the world's great cities, Bourgeois universalizes her private grief. She invites us all to step under the canopy of her mother's protection. We are left with a new definition of beauty, one that accommodates the grotesque and the terrifying. Maman teaches us that protection can look like a nightmare if you don't understand the danger it is warding off. It teaches us that the most powerful things in our lives, memory, mothers, the past, are often the most intimidating. As we walk away, leaving the shadow of the giant arachnid, we don't feel like we have escaped a monster. We feel like we have been watched over. We realize that the metal is cold only because it has to be hard enough to survive. And in that realization, the nightmare dissolves, leaving only the enduring, unbreakable 9-ton weight of love.